What is the influence of gaming technology in today's world? How does something as simple as a game affect the very world we live in? From the creation of the very first video game in 1947, we have moved forward in leaps and bounds to where we are today. We will now take a brief look at some of the biggest milestones in the gaming industry. The first video game was invented in 1947 and was called the cathode ray tube amusement device. It was a missile simulator that utilized a screen overlay and used analog circuitry to function. In 1972, the Atari allowed kids to bring video games home to play and revolutionize the gaming industry. In 1983, Nintendo flooded the market with the Nintendo Entertainment System. The NES introduced some of the most iconic gaming franchises to the world. Super Mario, Zelda, and Donkey Kong are just a few. In 1989, Nintendo released the Game Boy, which would become one of the most popular handheld gaming systems in history. In 1990, Nintendo, to keep up with the market, released their first 16-bit console, the Super Nintendo. While this was not the first 16-bit console, it was the most popular and carried the most titles. In the mid-90s, several companies released 32 and 64-bit systems which introduced 3D gaming to the world. The PlayStation and the Nintendo 64 were the most popular among this generation of consoles. In 1999, the PC game EverQuest brought massively multiplayer online role-playing games into the spotlight. These games have risen in popularity to the point of having users numbering in the millions. In 2006, the Nintendo Wii introduced motion-based gaming. The Wii was based on the movements of the player rather than the traditional style of input via a control pad or keyboard. Gaming in today's world is breaking into technologies such as augmented reality, virtual reality, and brain-machine interfaces. How will this affect the world around us? We will soon find out. Video games have crossed boundaries throughout time to aid us in education, medical, military, and many other fields that give users their own unique experience. Online multiplayer video games have brought together a large population of the world. Players in different parts of the world have been able to socialize, connect, and communicate while challenging one another to many different styles and type of games. Video games are not just being created for entertainment purposes, but have also become a help to others. To better skills, fight disabilities, aid graphic design, and train our soldiers. As the gaming industry continues to develop and introduce new technology like virtual reality, the needs in professional fields will continue to grow. Video games have given us the opportunity to aid professionals to better themselves and the skills necessary for their professions. Video game hardware will continue to give us the tools to help prepare us for our future jobs. The 21st century is all about technology. Gaming technology is not only intertwined with our daily lives, but is now transforming our military through the implementation of video games, flight simulation, and powerful computerized weapon systems. Video games, as part of technology, serve the military for training and recruitment purposes. In past generations, soldiers trained without ideas about what the battlefield was truly like. Because of video games, soldiers now receive simulated experience beforehand through the use of video games. The first-person shooter series, America's Army, shown here, is an example of a video game approved of and funded by the U.S. Department of Defense for military training. Flight simulators allow pilots in training to gain valuable experience with possible problems and different types and styles of aircraft without incurring any of the costs of using an actual aircraft. While no commercially available simulators are currently being used by the United States military, prospective pilots commonly use Microsoft's Flight Simulator 10 software due to its overwhelmingly large third-party support for flight equipment. Prospective pilots in the U.S. military can set up simulators at home that are not simply a PC running software but rather an entire suite of equipment that allows the pilot to train in a near-realistic environment. One extremely important area that gaming has lent a hand to is the medical industry. Video games have helped hundreds of patients regain mobility after debilitating accidents. Playing interactive video games may be the answer to help stroke victims improve limb function and give them back the ability to manage daily tasks. In a study published by the Cochrane Database of Systematic Reviews, studies show that after 19 studies and 7 trials, over 700 patients had improved arm mobility. Here we see Liam, the first person to use Richard Van Ass's Robo-Hand. 3D printed robo-hands help kids who have lost fingers, or are born without them, regain almost complete hand control. The Myo is a device that receives input from muscle movements from the user. This allows for hands-free control of in-game devices as well as other types of hardware such as drones, RC-style vehicles, and computer systems. The Oculus Rift is a device which displays content to the user in an immersive environment. The Rift utilizes multiple sensors to move the display in real time with the movements of the users. This is the most immersive virtual reality experience in the history of gaming. The Omni device holds users in a stationary position while still allowing them to walk, run, jump, and move normally and translate this to a virtual environment. This type of device will allow users to experience almost any type of simulation and allow for near seamless immersion. After watching this educational video, it is easy to see the many ways that gaming technologies have revolutionized our technological world.